Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
I sent you that video from TikTok about choose your fighter.
Yep.
I gotta know what you think, bro.
Well, I watched it like about, I don't know, that was like a week ago. So there were two videos, no?
Yeah, I did send you two videos.
Yeah, there were two videos.
I sent you one about Sarah Palin, right? What you tell me?
Yeah, well, no. The Choose Your Fighter was put up on TikTok by Jessica Wu, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna. This is off topic.
Come on,
jump
bro.
into it this fast.
No.
No. There's just so much. There's just so much noise out. I want to ask you, since you're in America and I'm in Mexico, how are you guys up there handling all this? There's a lot of noise. Am I wrong in saying that? There's just a lot of noise. You and I talked about this I think it was last week, maybe the week before, about people posting, reposting memes and reposting talking points. And, you get it on TikTok, you get it on Instagram, you're on Facebook. And I don't know. I mean, I don't even want to relate it all to, I'm not even suggesting that it's all politics.
You know what? Tell everybody what we're talking about.
Well, what I'm talking about is just people's opinions on everything. I mean, that's the way I could. Okay, so I'm looking at it right now. Mm-hmm. She's standing in front of the what do you call that? The Capitol building, right? And that had to do with Women's History Month, correct?
Okay, so these are a bunch of people who they consider to be potential power players in the Democratic Party moving forward and potentially run for president.
And that's kind of where I'm at. If it sounds like I'm stuttering and struggling with this whole thing, part of it is that I don't agree with it because I don't think there is anybody.
Well, if there is somebody, I don't agree with their methods. I'm a little more sensitive to this being a black person because they are insulting me. They are.
Why do you say that?
Because they are telling me that I am what they say the stereotypical black person is. I'm buffoonish. Mm-hmm. I can't speak literally. Mm-hmm. I curse all the time. I slang and things like that. Yeah. And that seems to be what the party is moving forward to. That they feel like they're actually making a connection that way. So that's what makes it insult to me. Like, acting like that, you think is going to pull me in?
Well, and that's the thing and that's kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the rhetoric and the noise, is that there seems to be a power struggle in America right now, and I'm not talking about the Democrats and the Republicans or Donald Trump or anything. There seems to be in general a lot of there's a vacuum of leadership. I think that's the best way I can just say it. And going forward, I think when people are looking, let me mention one of the things I listened to and watched this week was Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, the California governor, did I don't know if you saw this at all, but he
podcast.
Yes, he did the extended podcast interview with I never remember the guy's name. What's the guy? The conservative tall guy.
I've watched enough of him where I should know his name, but I have no clue.
I can never remember the guy's name. Anyways, the long and short of it is, and then I'm hanging out here in Mexico with my buddy Bert, who we've had on the podcast before. And Bert is from California. He can't stand Gavin Newsom. And he's just like, Gavin Newsom is just a two-faced guy that will say whatever. And if you listen to that interview, he basically contradicted just about everything he said over the last 5 years. I mean, I don't know. You guys should remember, like, California during COVID was like a nanny lockdown state. It was the first in the nation of pushing the pandemic agenda.
They were the first to shut down, and they were the last to shut down. I mean, to open back up.
To open up. And Gavin Newsom was, went on record a whole mess of times talking about trans issues and guys and women's sports. And then all of a sudden, he's on this podcast this week. And I told Bert, and Bert didn't want to hear this. I said, you know what? Gavin Newsom came across as the cool guy next door. I want to go have a beer with him. He's a good-looking guy. He's well-spoken. To me, he is the face of the Democratic Party going forward. And according to Bert, which, by the way, is very accurate, is a load of bullshit, because this guy is he'll say whatever he thinks somebody wants to hear. And a lot of that, I listened to a lot of that. And so this is circling back to what you said, Jessica Wu, and talking about, the future of the party, the future of what, how minorities and women and all these other things play in all this stuff. To me, I don't even know where they're going. There is no it's a vacuum. So and in the absence of leadership, what do you get? You get lots of people posting stuff on social media and posting about, reposting nonsensical shit. I just saw a thing. I know I'm jumping around here. I just saw a thing this morning sent from a friend of mine, a gay couple that I know, that said that North Dakota is talking about rescinding gay marriage. What in the actual fuck? So that's a target. To me, that is a Republican Party issue, right? I mean, certainly not the Democratic Party going to do that. What? What? Aren't we over that? Why are we talking about this?
So they are Republicans, but I don't consider that the Republican Party. I'm not pro Republican Party, but in general, you talk to Republicans, they don't care about this issue whatsoever. They don't have no problem with it. They may have a child. I even know gay Republicans.
Sure. And
right?
This is my point, though, Phil, is all we're getting is a bunch of noise. That's why I'm asking you, as somebody that's in America right now, how are you guys handling all this noise? Because on both sides.
I am the wrong person to ask. This is why, Mike. I live in the state of Washington, and I live right outside of Seattle, damn near. So right. I am in when you take the totality of the state, I would say this is a purple state. Mm-hmm. It's about 50-50 if you just go by totality.
Sure.
But when you get east and you get close to Seattle, that is blue.
Oh, yeah.
And so I live in a place where if I go and have breakfast at the local diner or whatever, the conversation is not what you think. It is, I hate Trump. Mm-hmm. They're for everything opposite of Trump. All the things that we say are crazy, they're on the 20 side. They're on the 20 side of all the issues here in Washington.
Yeah, yep.
So there are pockets of conservative people or people who are outside of the Democratic Party, but that's going to be like your friends. Mm-hmm. So you don't really get a pulse of anything.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that. And then to address that 20, you and I talked about this on the last podcast, that 20% issue thing. I mean, to me, if you're talking about gay marriage in North Dakota, you're on the 20% issue there too, because 80% of the people are like, we're long over this. This is why are we talking about this? That's a loser. That is a loser. So my point is that there's loser issues on both sides, and to me, there's just a lot of noise, and that's what's, in my opinion, more than Donald Trump, more than the Republican quote party that's the Elon Musks of the world and all this nonsense that's going on in Washington right now. What's ripping America apart right now is the fringe groups on either side are just posting so much shit that normal Joes, let's call it the 80% in the middle, are picking up on this stuff, right? So when you send me a TikTok reel as an example, that's being watched by millions and millions of people. So I feel like there's just a marketing campaign from the two sides, and
well, that would be okay, Mike, but everything happens just like what you described, and I'm okay with that. The issue is the part you didn't mention yet. Maybe you were going to go there. It's the algorithm. So
yes,
like you said, I sent you that TikTok. Well, if you're on TikTok, they're probably going to start feeding you a bunch of stuff like that.
And they are.
So once someone clicks on something, it's reinforced. Mm-hmm. So if I watch something that's a lie, I'm going to keep getting fed lies.
Yes. And that's the problem, is what I can see is going on, is that, you take any issue right now, so let's talk about tariffs for a second. And I don't want to get too deep into it because we could go on for 5 podcasts on the tariff thing. But on both sides, I've seen people posting memes or what I'm going to call slides of facts that inevitably are never factual. And I've seen it from both sides. So we're gonna tariff Canada, and I've seen people on the right say, well, Canada's been tariffing this, and it's got 300% on eggs and blah, 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 blah. And then on the other side, they're like, the tariffs, it's not equal. It's blah 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 blah. We're why are we punishing Canada, and why are we taxing ourselves? And but if you look at the statistics, if you fact check this stuff, it's almost all bullshit on both sides. Like there's barely any facts involved.
Well, I've talked to business owners that require raw materials, mm-hmm. and all of them are, developing strategies, but they've all said, as far as an actual effect, nothing's really been done for anything to have an effect.
Right.
Right. I was even told the scramble by businesses to be proactive about this, that's caused more of an issue than anything else. So let's say you are a company that requires a lot of steel, where there's a lot of people who are, I know someone who has bought a warehouse.
Yep.
Just to hold all the steel that they bought. They bought it with like a group of people. And there are a lot of people doing that. And it's actually the reaction to the social media and the news that's false that's causing the issue.
See, that's the thing is what I think this is what I'm getting to, is a lot of what's going on is destabilizing. And, you see it in the market. You look at the stock market is down just unbelievable amounts of dollars. We're talking like, billions and billions of dollars. It's destabilized the real estate market to some extent. There's just this destabilization. There's a fear going on.
Yeah. So
none of it's reality.
Let's just look at the stocks. The stocks are down. Mm-hmm. But I play with the stocks, and the majority of the time, the fluctuation in stocks has nothing to do with the big boys that own millions and billions of shares. It's the Joe Blow that don't know nothing, and they hear a little something on the news, and they get on their app, and they take their little 100 shares, right?
Yep.
And Because when it is the big boys, when it is the billionaires, it's right on Bloomberg. They tell you they got rid of X amount of shares or they got rid of all of them. That doesn't happen as frequently.
Yeah, no.
You didn't hear about any big share owners, any brokerage firms, any consortiums that dumped a bunch of stock. It was the little people.
Yep.
And they make their decisions off of social media. Social media has really gotten destructive.
And that's kind of where I'm going with this, to circle all the way back around, is that, in my opinion, a lot of what we're talking about on this podcast over the last bunch of weeks, whether it's Trump policies or the Democrats' reaction to it, or strife in America or Europe or the Ukraine war, all this stuff, a lot of this is just noise. It isn't. Nothing has really actually occurred other than talking and retalking and passing information along. And by the time you get it, by the time it comes into my inbox, it's factually not even right. It's not even accurate. But what the sad part is I do feel like a lot of Americans buy into it.
Absolutely. And they buy into it in different ways. Some people just like the jousting. Mm-hmm. And back to just social media in general. Social media has become the big accident on the highway. Mm-hmm. You must disrupt to get views and attention. And that disruption is usually the lowest common denominator. Goofiness, stupidness, lies. Nobody really is interested in clicking on something intellectual.
And that's the problem. And I've noticed that as a YouTube content creator, and I have a lot of friends that are YouTubers, where we're not getting traction on videos any longer unless it's got a title and or a thumbnail that is catastrophic or deeply emotional or grabbing in such a way, or something that is just over the top. And the problem is it's crying wolf, right? Because every time you post something like that, and then you find out, well, that's not really what happened.
Tune in to the Random Waypoints podcast, where Mike terrorizes Phil about blah blah blah, and then you click on it.
Right, exactly.
Phil owns Mike. I see that so many times. Somebody got owned.
Exactly. And
then
that's
you click on it, and it's like they were in agreement.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's where we've got. And so everything is sensationalized. And I feel like I'm living out, America is living out like the New York Post or something. You know what I mean? Or worse, like the National Enquirer, right? So we're living the National Enquirer.
It's gotten so horrible that it has eliminated a word for itself. I don't hear people use the word clickbait anymore, because everything is clickbait.
Yep.
You're not making a point or differentiating something by calling it clickbait.
Phil, even as a nerd, and I've watched a fair amount of like congressional hearings or confirmation hearings or just like them debating or bringing in somebody before Congress, even that, the questions that they do, they're all quick clickbait, right? Like it's like leading witnesses. It's like court TV drama from the 80s.
And that pisses me off, because I'm like you. I'm a C-SPAN guy. I watch all of that stuff, right? And if you don't already know the facts, you don't know who is right in them arguments. Yep. You just know who was the most demonstrative, the most aggressive, the one who created the gotcha moment. But you don't know if the gotcha moment is even true. I've literally seen somebody hand out papers to everybody and go over some numbers, checked it out, wasn't none of the numbers right.
Nope. And that's the problem. You're starting to see I'll call it the cream rises to the top theory here, where the senators and congressmen and whatnot that are becoming the leaders leaders and coming to the top are the ones that are the most sensational. Like those are the people that are becoming famous.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
That's where I led in this whole conversation. That's why I wanted you to see that video.
Yeah.
And why it was so insulting to me. I've been around long enough to even have seen where I've seen a person portray this intelligent person, and now they're like changing their whole personality to this ignorant person because they think that's the best image to have.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Now, I do have to say, there is proof in the pudding. We do have Trump in the office. Mm-hmm. Now, like I always say.
So there's proof that it works.
Yes, because what everybody loves about him, what initially was the spark that got him going, I forgot the name, the Tea Party and how it turned into MAGA and everything, it was like, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? I agree with that. And that's been the template ever since. But there's still substance to what he says. And as rude as people say he is, I've never heard the kind of language I'm hearing from the Democrats him use. That's right. They're using the words, they're using the ones that you have to beep out.
Right. Yep.
He's rarely had to be beeped out.
Right.
I want you to talk about this, Mike, if you know about it. You so settled in Mexico, you might not know about it. But visas to cross the border into Mexico have always been required. But, yes. They just announced that that's a requirement now. They do it 100%. Mm-hmm. If you don't have it, it's going to be hours for you to get across. And I just wanted to say the little bit of information I have is you can get an electronic form and have it already prepared so you can zip through. And
you still have to get it stamped, though. Mm-hmm. That's the challenge with that electronic form. So crossing the border, even if you do it, if you think you're saving time online, in reality, and by the way, I'm talking about this is driving now, not flying, but driving. You still have to get that online thing stamped.
And so where would you be getting that stamped? At the actual border?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it doesn't eliminate any time at all?
Not really, because it doesn't take very long. The border's now requiring credit cards, so you can't do it in cash any longer. So you really got to go. I mean, it doesn't take that long to walk into the Banjocito and give them your credit card and you buy the visa, the 180-day visa. It doesn't take very long. I don't think it takes any longer to do it at the border than it does to do it online and then get it stamped.
So is there any validity in that some credit cards don't work? Like you can't go to a grocery store and get one of those credit cards and you add some money to it. Somebody was telling me it's got to be
you mean for the government?
For you to pay for, you just said you had to use the credit card.
Yeah. It's quite possible. I don't know.
That's something that I've heard from somebody that it has to either be a debit card or from certain banks.
Yeah, that could be true. I mean, I do know even locally here.
Why would that be important? That sounds like they want to make sure they can track you or something.
Not most of the time, from what I've noticed, is it's on the American bank side where a lot of this is fraud risk stuff. Where I can't tell you how many times, Phil, my credit card gets turned off.
Mike, we didn't have our credit cards turned off at the same time. Oh, you mean in Mexico?
Well, just in general, it happens like you and I think it happens in America too. But yeah, in Mexico in particular, or quite frankly, anywhere overseas, it happens even more. They see an international transaction and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, shut that off. It's
Mike,
like, no, I'm here.
If you know anybody in banking and we can get them on the show, make it happen, because I only have one question, and it's what we're talking about. What's the algorithm, or how do y'all choose whose bank cards y'all shut off?
I don't know. I know. I wish I understood it too. And I've got one bank, I forget which one it is, that, I mean, my card gets shut off just about every time I use it.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
I have literally known ahead of time that this was a 50-50 proposition I was going into, and was pissed. I was like, why did I do it?
Yep. I've told people I'm at checkout at Home Depot or something. I'd be like, well, here you go. Let's try this. I'm not sure this is going to work. I mean, you can call it before it happens. And then they're like, no, it's declined. I'm like, oh yeah. Yep. I'm not surprised.
Well, it's not just happening to us, because I've been in the middle of a trip in a restaurant, card didn't work, and either she was being polite, but I often hear in them situations, they be like, oh, that happens all the time now. You must be from out of town.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah.
This really sucks for people like us that travel a lot. You know, I mean, I guess if you're, and that's the thing is, once again, it's profiling, right? So your credit card company is profiling you. So if you're somebody that does not leave your, let's say, hometown, or you go to the grocery store, you know, once a week, and it's the same store, then they've profiled you in a sense. That they're like, oh yeah, it's normal. Now suddenly you go to, you know, a different grocery store, your card might get shut off because like, well, that's not the grocery store they go to. And we've talked about this a zillion times on the podcast. So look, nowadays you're being tracked no matter what you do.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Lord. I know. I mean, unless you truly live off grid with no cell phone, no Starlink, no credit cards.
And that just reduces, it doesn't eliminate.
Correct.
Because that means you can't go to a certain level of town.
Right.
Because there's going to be
a
cameras. And then you can't pretty much go anywhere. There's the ring bells. Even when you go into the small towns now, you look into the little corners and they have their cam. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And I'm always catching on highways now. They used to have them above you so you know that you were driving past them, but now they have them to the left or the right, and they'll have a fake rock or bush. So you don't even know sometimes when you've driven past them, especially in the West.
Yep.
You think when you're on those long roads and it says 60 miles next service, and they know everything that's going on.
Yep.
Mike, I have a question for you. Do you think by the end of the day that we will have a new spending budget, or are the Democrats going to do what they said and not vote for it?
So I haven't followed this story super closely, but my understanding is the Senate already passed it, or am I backwards here? The House passed it
backwards. The Congress
House passed it. Yep.
And
Going to the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, the problem you got is on the Donald Trump's quote side, you've got some rogue people in the Senate. You know, Mitch McConnell as an example, or you know, certain people. So they're so tight on either side to the vote count that's hard to call. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, sadly, like you're seeing in some of the I'll call it the Doge actions, what's coming out over time, you know,
damn.
Well, this is not a statement of whether, you know, I like the program or not, or either side, but what you're seeing is a lot of the problems are from pork stuff, right? They're attached to other bills. So what they're finding is a lot of crooked shit that, to be honest with you, was voted on.
So you're going in the direction I was going to go. A little different though. You're talking about the fat that's in it. I believe that despite what it'll do to their party, the Democrats will shut down the government. And it's not because of the fat that's in it. It's because of the fat that isn't in it.
Isn't in it.
Because they're not getting any fat. So
Right.
what's going to happen is they're going to end up getting some. They're just not going to get as much as they would normally get. What's going to happen is they're going to get shut down, and then some small little things that each of these senators needs coming to their pockets. I ain't saying to their state, to their pockets, gets approved, gets added on, and then they're going to approve it. That's what I think.
Yeah, and
The only way,
and that's, by the way, is where this shit goes. And then next thing you know, we're paying for some preschool Animal House in Morocco or something, because it gets into this USAID or wherever it gets into. There's like attachments to things.
and then you have what you mentioned, like the Doge, who's already gotten rid of a lot of stuff that would have had to have been discussed for the budget. Some of that stuff is going to get put back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's the game. The only way end of Friday we're not shut down is because those things were worked out by the end of the day. That's the only way.
Agreed. And I think once again, unfortunately, that they're going to take a 20% stand on this, right? I think it's a loser.
Well, that's really why I brought this up. They put themselves in an 80-20 situation. They put themselves in because one, they have gone on record saying they were going to shut down and everything. So that made them look bad, especially with the reply that the Republicans did. They were like, so they're telling you if we shut down, it's because of them. So now they're looking bad for even bringing this up. Mm-hmm. Now, if they decide not to shut down, they'll still look bad because, okay, so another thing that you didn't follow through on.
Yep.
They don't need to say things and then not back them up.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to be more strategic about what they say. They need to stop responding to everything.
Well, let's face it. The problem is that they're not united, right? So there's no leader. There's really no leader, and you're hearing different opinions coming from different sides of the same party.
Well, this is what I predicted when we were talking about Kamala Harris when she was running, and I was saying that she was the scapegoat. They put her out there because everybody knew that even if they were a good candidate, they wouldn't have been able to win in such a short period of time. And that they were all going to scramble for the next election. And that's what's happening. Everybody's scrambling for power. And they realize now that the centralized power of the Democratic Party is possibly over. So it's not the normal scramble to be a representative of them. It's to be your own little offshoot and become the new power of the party. Did I say that right? Did that make sense?
Yeah. Well, like we said before, they need their own Trump. And
they're all trying to beat Trump. They're all battling for that. And that goes.
I just laughed though. You brought up Harris. I mean, here's a chick that thinks that she still has a chance next time. Are you fucking kidding me? That's got to be the dumbest thing. I mean,
what does Bert say on that? Because I've talked to some California people. Your boy Bert from California.
Oh, yeah.
Has he commented
no, he thinks
on
she's an idiot. I mean, come on. Like, no.
Because I'm hearing from a lot of California people that she's got a legit shot, that people view her different in California. I don't know.
If I'm Donald Trump or I'm the MAGA party right now, and I hear that Kamala Harris thinks that she's got a chance, I'm making ice cream and getting cake out because I'm celebrating.
All the Republican Party got to do is find some minority that's been to jail off of her putting them in jail and have him run against her for office.
Yeah,
because it'll be a constant reminder of what she's done.
She's got zero chance. If they pick her, they're out of their minds. Out of their minds. Out of their minds.
I'm going to. I don't think she has. I had that same knee-jerk reaction as you, that it's no way she could win, but I'm hearing too many Californians saying she got a shot. So I don't know.
At the risk of alienating Californians, I mean, based on some of the shit that they do, I mean, I don't know if it's a bright bunch we're working with.
People want to be led. I've been on fields, I've been on courts, I've been in business meetings, all types of situations. And the thing that's common in a group of people I've noticed is most people don't want to jump up and be the leader. They want somebody else to do it, and they want to be able to relax their mind and just let you handle it.
And that's my point, though. You need a leader, right? She doesn't have a leader qualification. So you need somebody that has charisma that can lead. That's not her.
Bro, I'm not vouching for her.
That's why I said at the top of the show, I mean, to me, that's a Gavin Newsom. Like, look, he's leading California right now.
I think that's who's going to win. I think he's going to win again.
Which is crazy.
Because it ain't like all this weirdo stuff didn't come out before the last time he won governor. They've known his politics. He doesn't hide his politics. Until this last week, he's been very straightforward about his politics. So, and they've been voting him in, bro.
Yeah, they have. But if he tried to take California politics nationwide,
there's no logic to California.
He couldn't win.
I can figure out who's going to win other states. I can't figure out California. California is like different, bro.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
I agree.
Have you heard about Mahmoud Khalil, Mike? The Columbia student who is here as I forget what you call it. He's a resident. He's not a citizen. He doesn't have a green card. He's married to a citizen. Okay. And he's going to Columbia College. He's been part of a bunch of, like, I think Palestinian.
Yes, I have. Yep.
And they came and got him from the school, and they were talking about deporting him.
Yep.
I'm going to leave that very open-ended. What is your opinion about them arresting him for his protests at the school?
Well, I don't know enough about the story to make a call on that. What I would say is he legally here?
Oh, he's okay. His wife is an American citizen. So you know how
so he's married.
Right. Recently married. So you know that you are not just automatically an American citizen once you marry. It's like lack of a better word, there's a trial period.
Sure.
And he's still within that trial period. So he's called a lawful U.S. resident.
Yep. So by definition, he's legally there. I don't see how they can arrest him for as far as I can tell, it's legal to protest in America. That's part of our American way. Having said that, I'm legally here in Mexico, and I'm a legal resident of Mexico, but I wouldn't go out and start politicking here. That's a bad idea.
So one question specifically about what you just said. If you did, what would the repercussions possibly be?
Well,
just in general,
just in general, if I did, first of all, I think you'd have a bunch of citizens down here that'd be like, what the fuck is this gringo talking about? Like he's not from here. None of his business. I think that'd be the first thing. Second thing is, I think you'd be risking your. I mean, I wouldn't do it here because I don't want to get involved in the politics at all. Like that's way past my pay grade. So you just gave
if you want to ask me what I think about it, you just stated it. I know a bunch of people. I'm sure you know a bunch of people who have lived in other places, and you are required to go with their flow.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that you are a guest.
It's not even belief. You are a guest.
Yeah, you are a guest. But even so, I'll take a step further than that. And this might be somewhat controversial, I suppose, but I would take it a step further. Let's assume you earned the right and you become a full-on citizen, and you're no longer, quote, a guest. You are now a citizen, just like the next guy, your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I am still a huge fan of integration. I'm a huge fan of adopting the cultures of the society that you're integrating with. So the goal of any country, I think, is to continue the goal, the mandate that was set out originally when we set up the Constitution and when we decided, this is our culture, this is how we're going to be. So when foreigners, legally or illegally, come into a country, and this could be America, could be Mexico, could be Saudi Arabia, you need to become part of where you're going. Because if you're not becoming part of that, I don't know why you would want to go. I guess what I'm trying to say is this has been America's problem. We have gone into other countries, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, the list goes on, and we've tried to change the local culture to be more in line with what our beliefs are. And that, I think we can all agree, no matter what side you're on, that does not work. It has never worked. It's never going to work. So in my opinion, it's the same way going the other direction. So if you are a, quote, invited guest, and then you, even regardless of whether you become a citizen or not in the United States, I think that you should integrate into the United States way. And if you don't like it and you want it to be more like the country you came from, then go back.
Well, somebody could simply retort back to that. Well, I agree with you, but Americans don't all agree on the same things. So why can't I disagree? And my thing is, I keep it real simple. Like early on, you said, I don't have all the facts. And I could give you more facts. I don't need any more facts. If you're not from here, and we've allowed you to be here for whether it's green card, whatever, you should not be giving your political opinions one way or another about anything.
Agreed.
Period.
Yes. Yeah. And if we tell you that, it's my theory on travel in general. We've talked about this in the Overland world. You always, because people ask me all the time, well, what's your recommendation, in Mexico? What should I bring or not bring? I go, look, at the end of the day, you have to obey the law of where you are traveling in. So I'm not going to bring a firearm to Mexico, as an example, or I'm not going to walk around in a thong in downtown Riyadh. You know what I'm saying? That is not the culture. You just don't. That's a no bueno. You're not doing that. So, to me, it's the same thing in America. Like, I was happy to hear Donald Trump, as an example, make English the official language of America. Well, I mean, wouldn't you have thought that was the way it was already?
Right.
But no, it wasn't.
And Mike,
Spanish is the official language in Mexico.
It should be.
Not rocket science, it should be. I mean, come on.
I agree with you, Mike. When, like I said, I know quite a few Americans who have moved to other countries. And one commonality, at least in my little sample size, is they all seem eager to assimilate to the culture, learn as much as possible about that culture, learn the language, and to not disrespect their beliefs.
Agreed.
Yet, we seem to not have that same. We're okay with people just coming here doing anything.
Well, we shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be.
Yeah. So that's the part that bothers me the most.
Yes.
I don't care about him coming here and getting an education. I don't care about him marrying whoever he married or whatever. But until you get your citizenship, and this goes back to me, this will make more sense to you now. When I said you shouldn't have a full citizenship until you've reached 150 years in this country. I mean, you should get all your rights, but as far as being able to run for an office. So let's use him for an example. Okay, he's got a baby. His wife is pregnant currently. Okay, so do you think that child, I mean, there's a chance, but I mean, he's going to be the teacher. He's going to be the person given. So that's a generation right there. How many generations to dilute those thoughts and ideas? It takes time to dilute your fundamental thoughts, ideologies, and ideas from where you're from. And I think it takes about 150 years.
Mm-hmm. And that's a problem because, you said it, I think, on another podcast, which was controversial. You felt like you shouldn't be able to run for office. But
I'm saying it now.
I know. We have currently in Congress people that, in my opinion, I won't even mention names. I guess we could, but there's people in there that don't seem to have America's best interests.
Bro, we got people that was not born here.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we just elected foreigners to run our country. That seems weird to me.
It should just make sense to people. You're not going to just come here and all of a sudden all your beliefs just immediately change.
Mm-mm.
And on one side, I love seeing people come here and show their flags, but it also makes me cringe too. I'm like, because they'll usually put that flag before the American flag.
Yep.
And I'm like, I love that you love where you from and everything, but you saying you on my team now. If you on my team, you got to be on my team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel pretty strongly about that as well.
But
me too.
Most people, and when I talk to them, I slickly get them to reveal their genealogy, and the ones who are generally talking about their country first have not been here for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Ilhan Omar or whatever her name is in Congress.
And yes. And there's
she's like blatantly, to me, she's anti-American. She
is a fucking traitor.
She's been anti-Israel. I don't even understand how we allow this shit to happen.
I don't care about her being Israel. She can be whatever. But when she gets into the details of her reasonings, it's not an American reasoning.
No.
It's to protect some other country or some other ideology or whatever.
Yes. That's right.
It's the root cause of how she gets to her conclusions. That is my issue.
Yes.
And there are a lot of issues. I can tell how long people been here because there are certain issues and I'm like, okay, yeah, they read that. But they don't have anybody in their family that's actually was living here in this country that passed on real stories. I'm sure in your lifetime, Mike, there's been things where you're talking to somebody and they're younger and they're like, oh, they didn't live that. They don't really actually realize that it was like this, not like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's
Happens
where
all the
my
time.
150 comes from.
Yes. Okay.
Not my father. I'm just as an example. Like my father actually went through the Depression and knows what actually happened. My father actually went through whatever, or my mother actually went through whatever. So that's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
But this is too big of a conversation to fully get into, Mike. Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay, so I want to announce something because you've agreed to it.
Okay.
All right. There's a Netflix series, and I'm talking to everybody, pay attention. There's a Netflix series that addresses male rage and influences of social media on today's youth. It's called Adolescence, and it came out on Thursday. It's about a family's world turned upside down when a 13-year-old named Jamie Miller is arrested for murdering a schoolmate. The charges against their son forced them to confront every parent's worst nightmare. This is one of the rare TV series where all of the critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100%. It has not gotten less than a 5 out of 5 or 100% yet from anybody.
This is on Netflix for those of you that are wondering, and it is. Does it take place in Ireland?
I have not figured that out yet. I'm going by his accent.
Yeah,
but
that's
he's
what I was
from
going by.
Ireland, right? The actual actor is from Ireland, so he.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. I thought it was Ireland. It took, but I'm not sure. It probably doesn't matter.
That's my guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna say something. I don't know, Phil. I'm gonna ask you. So nowadays we have so many choices to watch things on, and this. I'm diverging from our regular scheduled program here again, but so Netflix to me. So I'm interested to see how this series does because. To me, Netflix is a little bit at a disadvantage over some of the other players in the. I found that they're really good at promoting stuff, meaning that whoever they've got on the Netflix team to put out the trailers and the promos and the whatever, they do a really good job. Mm-hmm. I've been let down in some of these series once I watch it and I go, geez, I don't feel like Netflix has the same budget that say Amazon or HBO or one of the other quote networks has. So I'm curious to see how well of a job they do on this. Having said that, I've been watching. I want to throw this out there because we're off tangent. I've been watching. I think maybe I mentioned this last week, but I've been watching the follow-up series to Game of Thrones on HBO. The second season of the hell's the name of the damn thing? Dragons. Whatever it is, the spinoff of Game of Thrones. Now, I really enjoyed Game of Thrones, although I will tell you that was super complicated. There was just so many characters, so many names, so much confusion. I don't know what everybody else thinks out in viewership world here, but the Dragon series is terrible in my opinion. I have literally now watched the same episode in season 2 like twice, and I can't make it through the entire episode without like wanting to turn it off and go to bed. So I want to hear if out there, if any of you guys are listening, what your opinion is on the Dragon series on HBO, because it's terrible.
I think you would enjoy it if you haven't seen the Game of Thrones. Because when I see it, I'm comparing it, and it looks cheesy.
It's cheesy. It's like it was the costumes, the hair, it's boring though. It's moving at the speed of backwards.
It looks like I'm watching Saturday Night Live, and they're doing one of them skits.
Yeah,
like it's a parody of it or a caricature of it. It doesn't seem like the same people are behind this show at all.
It doesn't. So I'm really struggling. Season 1, I watched the whole season 1, and at the end of it, I was like, okay, it was relatively entertaining, but I didn't care for it a lot because it was dark. Not only dark, gloomy dark. It was film dark. I felt like it was always raining or dark or nighttime or like. And I think that was their way of doing special effects without spending a lot of money because, you know, the darker you make it, you know, you can't see anything. And I just, you know, but then everybody was like, I had a couple friends tell me, well, season 2 is better. Oof. God, I think season 2 is worse.
So you won't have that problem with this show, Mike. I've already seen the first episode. And so I'll break it down into 3 different things. The cinematography is the top of the level cinematography. You know, that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in.
Okay.
There's not another level above it. They're at the top. They're using a one-shot method where the whole thing is shot with one camera continuously for an hour for 4 episodes.
Okay.
I've looked into this. It's no camera trick. They literally are going 45 minutes. They even showed where a guy bumps the camera against the wall. He may have had an accident. They had to start the whole process over. So if you're into the look of a film and the techniques, that's going to excite you alone because this is going to be something you've never seen before as far as the visuals. It's going to be so immersive. Secondly, the writers and that wrote this have written some other things that have also gotten Rotten Potatoes 100%, which are rarely given out.
No.
And generally, when they get 100%, it is also reflected later on by what the actual viewers state.
Yep.
So there's a very high chance that this is going to be a good movie just off the ratings. And like I said, I saw the first one and I was like, wow, I have never seen anything like this. And I'm not saying it from like a shock value. I'm saying it was just top-notch quality in every way. So,
and this is a 4-part series. So basically it's about 4 hours long.
About 4 hours.
Okay.
And me and Mike have committed to watching this series, and we're going to talk about it next week. And we're hoping that you guys watch it too and have something to say. And let me be clear. I pay for my Netflix. Ain't nobody talked me into bringing this up.
Me too.
I believe personally that this is going to be a extremely relevant TV series in a few days. Once enough people have watched it, it's going to go right to number 1. I believe this, and it's going to be talked about heavily.
So this is Netflix for you guys, called Adolescent, right?
Yep, it came out Thursday, so it's already out. Probably when you click on your Netflix, it'll be the one that...
of course, because we just talked about it. Listen to me right now.
Anything else you want to say, Mike?
No, I want everybody to have a great weekend, though.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. You know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.